What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the wealth you desire is not your job, not your education, not even your current bank balance, but rather where you're placing your attention right now, in this very moment? Stop for a second and think about this. How many times today have you scrolled past something that could have changed your life simply because you weren't truly paying attention? We live in a world of constant distraction, where our minds are pulled in 1,000 different directions. And meanwhile, the universe is trying desperately to show us the pathway to abundance. But we're too busy, too distracted, too caught up in the noise to notice. Florence Scovel Shinn, one of the pioneering voices in prosperity consciousness, taught us something revolutionary over a century ago, that where our attention flows, our energy follows, and where our energy goes, our reality manifests. This isn't just philosophical wisdom, it's a fundamental law of the universe that's been working whether you've been aware of it or not. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's what most people get wrong about abundance and prosperity. They think it's about repeating affirmations, visualizing checks in the mail, or simply thinking positive thoughts. And while those things aren't necessarily wrong, they're operating at such a surface level that they barely scratch the surface of what's actually possible. Has this ever happened to you? You try all the manifestation techniques, you say your affirmations, you make your vision boards, and yet somehow the breakthrough never quite arrives the way you expected? That's because true prosperity consciousness, the kind that Florence Scovel Shinn mastered and taught, goes far beyond positive thinking. It's about accessing a deeper knowing, a divine connection to infinite supply that exists whether you believe in it or not. Think about it this way. There's a difference between hoping for money and knowing that prosperity is your divine birthright. There's a difference between wanting abundance and understanding that you're already connected to an infinite source of supply. The person who hopes is still operating from lack. The person who knows is operating from abundance. And that shift in consciousness, that fundamental change in how you perceive yourself in relationship to wealth, is what creates miracles. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. This isn't about working harder or hustling more. It's not about finding some secret loophole or get-rich-quick scheme. What we're talking about is something far more powerful. It's about aligning your consciousness with the frequency of abundance that's already all around you. It's about learning to pay attention in a way that most people never do, to see opportunities that have been invisible to you until now, and to claim what has always been rightfully yours. The next few minutes could genuinely transform your financial reality, but only if you give them your complete, undivided attention. Because here's the truth that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered, and that changed countless lives. The truth that transformed everything was surprisingly simple, yet profound enough to shake the foundations of how we think about money and prosperity. Shinn discovered what she called the power of the spoken word. Not just any words, but words spoken with absolute conviction, with the authority of someone who knows their divine right to abundance. She described this as a master key, a spiritual tool so powerful that it doesn't just ask the universe for wealth, it commands it. It doesn't plead or beg. It declares and demands that prosperity flows directly into your life because it recognizes a fundamental truth. You are not separate from the source of all abundance. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? You've probably heard similar promises before, tried different methods, and maybe felt disappointed when nothing seemed to change. But here's where things get interesting, and this is where real transformation begins to happen. This isn't about hoping or wishing. It's about understanding that there's a spiritual law at work, just as reliable as gravity, that states there is a supply for every demand. When you truly align with this law, when you speak from that place of knowing rather than wanting, reality begins to shift in ways that seem almost miraculous to the untrained eye. Let me share something with you that perfectly illustrates this principle in action. A man named Marcus, someone just like you and me, someone who'd been struggling with the same financial frustrations that probably brought you to this video today, decided to try this approach. He didn't have any special advantages. He wasn't more deserving than anyone else. But he made a decision. And decisions, as we know, are the hidden catalysts behind every major life transformation. He chose to speak words of prosperity with absolute conviction before going to sleep one evening, claiming his divine right to abundance without doubt or hesitation. The very next morning, Marcus woke up to find an unexpected deposit in his bank account. Not money he was owed, not a payment he was expecting, completely unexpected abundance that appeared precisely because he had opened himself to receive it. Now, some people might call this coincidence. Some might say he just got lucky. But when you understand the mechanics of consciousness and manifestation, you realize there are no coincidences. There's only cause and effect operating at levels most people never perceive. Marcus's story isn't unique because he's special. It's significant because it demonstrates what becomes possible when anyone, and I mean anyone, truly grasps this principle and applies it with unwavering faith. The impact of this simple shift in mindset can't be overstated. We're not talking about small changes here. We're talking about a complete revolution in how money, opportunities, and abundance show up in your life. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content on prosperity, consciousness, and abundance. Each video is designed to help you align with the wealth that's already yours. The journey from scarcity consciousness to prosperity consciousness isn't always linear, and there are revelations along the way that challenge everything you've been taught about money and worthiness. But here's what I want you to understand right now. In this moment, you have access to this same master key. It's not reserved for a special few. It's not locked behind some secret society or exclusive membership. It's available to you right now, exactly as you are, exactly where you are. Write in the comments, "I claim my prosperity," if this resonates with you, because that simple act of declaration is already beginning to shift your energy. Now, I want to go even deeper into this and show you exactly how this master key works and why it's been transforming lives for over a century. The mechanics behind this transformation become even clearer when you look at what happened to Alina, whose story reveals something crucial about how quickly reality can shift when consciousness changes. Alina was in a place many of us have found ourselves, drowning in debt, feeling completely stuck, watching the walls close in around her with no apparent way out. She'd tried everything she could think of from a practical standpoint. She'd sent out countless proposals, networked until she was exhausted, applied every conventional strategy one experts recommend, and yet nothing was moving. The harder she pushed, the more stuck she became. It's that frustrating paradox where effort alone doesn't create breakthrough. In fact, sometimes our desperate striving actually repels the very abundance we're seeking. But then something shifted inside Alina. She made a decision to stop fighting against her circumstances and instead align herself with something greater. She began speaking words of prosperity with conviction, claiming her divine right to abundance despite what her bank account was telling her. Within 48 hours, not weeks, not months, but 2 days, she landed a client that completely transformed her financial situation. This wasn't someone she'd been chasing or a connection she'd been cultivating for months. This was an opportunity that appeared seemingly out of nowhere, precisely when she opened herself to receive it. The apparent obstacles that had seemed so solid and immovable simply dissolved once her consciousness shifted into alignment with abundance. Now here's where most people get tripped up, and this is the hidden truth that separates those who manifest consistently from those who keep struggling. They look at stories like Marcus and Alina and think, well, they just got lucky, or that's a nice coincidence, but it wouldn't work for me. This mindset reveals the real barrier, not believing that divine law operates with the same consistency for everyone. Florence Scovel Shinn spent her entire career teaching that there are no accidents in divine mind, no random flukes, no cosmic lottery where some people win and others lose. Everything operates according to perfect order and law. When you plant a seed in fertile soil and give it water and sunlight, you don't hope a plant grows. You know it will grow because that's how natural law works. The same principle applies to consciousness and manifestation. The impact of truly grasping this cannot be overstated. When you understand that these manifestations aren't lucky breaks, but the natural result of deliberate alignment with spiritual law, everything changes. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop begging the universe and start commanding your reality with the authority of someone who understands their divine birthright. This isn't arrogance, it's recognition of truth. The journey from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances to recognizing yourself as a powerful creator is one of the most profound transformations any human being can experience. Behind the scenes of every miracle, every unexpected breakthrough, every moment when abundance flows in seemingly out of nowhere, there's this same principle at work: consciousness creating reality according to perfect law. What happened for Marcus and Alina isn't special or unusual when you understand how this works. They simply aligned themselves with a stream of abundance that's flowing constantly, always available to anyone who opens themselves to receive it. The revelations that emerge from truly understanding this principle reshape your entire relationship with money, opportunity, and life itself. You begin to see that scarcity was always an illusion, a story you were telling yourself based on surface appearances rather than deeper truth. Type, "I trust divine timing" in the comments if you're beginning to see how this operates, because acknowledging this shift is part of the process of opening yourself wider to receive. What I'm about to share with you next is the actual method, the precise way to speak these words of power so they carry the authority needed to command your reality rather than merely request change. The fundamental shift that needs to happen in your consciousness right now is moving from a mentality of settling for crumbs to claiming the entire feast that's already been prepared for you. Think about how most people approach prosperity. They ask for just enough to get by, just enough to cover the bills, just enough to feel a little less stressed. They're essentially telling the universe, "I'll take whatever scraps you're willing to throw my way." But here's what Florence Scovel Shinn understood that most people miss entirely. Divine supply isn't limited. The source of all abundance doesn't operate on a scarcity model where there's only so much to go around and you need to be grateful for whatever small portion you receive. That's human thinking imposed on divine reality, and it's precisely this limited mindset that keeps people trapped in cycles of just barely getting by. The universe, the divine source, infinite intelligence, whatever term resonates with you, operates from absolute abundance. There's no shortage in divine mind. When you look at nature, do you see the universe being stingy with sunlight or limiting how many flowers can bloom? Of course not. Abundance is the natural state of the universe, and scarcity only exists in human consciousness, in the stories we tell ourselves about limitation and lack. The moment you decide to stop accepting crumbs and start claiming your full inheritance, your divine birthright to complete abundance, that's when the real transformation begins. This isn't about being greedy or selfish. It's about recognizing truth and aligning yourself with it. Now, I want you to consider something that might completely shift your perspective on why you're watching this video right now, in this moment. Do you really think it's a coincidence that among millions of videos you could be watching, you found your way to this particular message at this particular time? Florence Scovel Shinn taught something profound about divine appointments, that when the student is truly ready, when their consciousness has reached the point where they can receive a teaching, the teacher or the teaching itself appears, not by accident, not by random chance, but by perfect divine order. Your being here isn't luck. It's an appointment that was set up by your own readiness to receive this truth. This recognition changes everything, because it means you're not randomly stumbling through life, hoping to catch a break. You're being guided, drawn toward exactly what you need when you need it. The impact of understanding this goes far beyond just feeling good about watching a video. It fundamentally alters how you perceive your entire journey through life. You begin to see that the revelations you receive, the insights that land at just the right moment, the opportunities that appear when you're ready for them, none of it is random. There's an intelligence behind the scenes orchestrating your growth and expansion, bringing you face to face with the tools and teachings you need for your next level of transformation. The decisions you make in moments like this one determine whether you remain stuck in old patterns of scarcity thinking or whether you step into the fullness of what's available to you. Right now, you're standing at a threshold. You can go back to scrolling, back to the same consciousness that created your current financial situation, or you can choose to fully engage with this master key and use it to unlock doors you didn't even know existed. This isn't about convincing you of anything. The truth is already resonating within you, or you wouldn't still be here. Put "I am ready to receive" in the comments if you feel that resonance. If you sense that this message found you for a reason. The actual method, the precise words you need to speak with authority and conviction, requires understanding not just what to say, but the consciousness from which you say it. The consciousness from which you speak these words of prosperity is everything. And this is where most people stumble without even realizing it. They say the right words, but they're speaking from a place of doubt, from a place of, "I hope this works," rather than, "I know this works." Florence Scovel Shinn built her entire teaching on a biblical principle that cuts straight to the heart of manifestation. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Not a component, not a helpful addition, but the actual substance. Without faith, without genuine belief, words are just empty sounds floating into the void. But when words are spoken with absolute conviction, with the kind of faith that doesn't waver or second guess, they become creative forces that reshape reality itself. This isn't about pretending to believe something you don't or forcing yourself to have faith through sheer willpower. Real faith, the kind that moves mountains and manifests abundance, comes from a deeper knowing. It's the difference between hoping your car will start and knowing the sun will rise tomorrow. One is tentative, uncertain, dependent on external validation. The other is absolute, unshakable, rooted in understanding how things work. When you truly grasp the spiritual laws governing prosperity, belief isn't something you have to manufacture. It becomes as natural as breathing because you understand the mechanics behind it. Now, here's a revelation that completely transforms how you think about money and wealth. Most people see their bank account balance as the measure of their prosperity, as if wealth is simply digits on a screen or pieces of paper in a wallet. But that's seeing only the physical manifestation, the end result, while missing the essential truth about what wealth actually is. Wealth is energy. It's a flowing stream, a current of divine supply that's constantly moving, constantly available. Money is simply one physical form this energy takes when it manifests in the material world. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money is God's idea of supply made visible, which means it's fundamentally spiritual in nature, not material. Understanding this changes everything about how you relate to prosperity. When you see money as energy rather than as scarce physical objects, you realize that the supply is unlimited. Energy doesn't run out. It transforms, it flows, it circulates, but it never disappears. The same way electricity flows through wires to power your home, the energy of abundance flows through consciousness to manifest as money, opportunities, resources, and every form of supply you need. The impact of this shift in perception cannot be overstated. Suddenly, you're not trying to grab hold of limited physical resources in competition with everyone else. You're aligning yourself with an infinite stream of energy that's always flowing and always available. The hidden truth behind every financial struggle is a blockage in this energy flow. It's not that the supply isn't there. It's that something in your consciousness is pinching off the stream, restricting the flow. Fear blocks it. Feelings of unworthiness block it. Beliefs about scarcity block it. But faith, genuine belief in your divine right to this supply, opens the channel wide. It removes the restrictions and allows the energy to pour through. This is why the same practical actions can produce completely different results depending on the consciousness behind them. Two people can say identical words of prosperity, but if one speaks from faith and the other from doubt, their results will be worlds apart. The journey from seeing wealth as scarce physical money to understanding it as infinite spiritual energy is one of the most liberating transformations you can experience. It frees you from the anxiety of competition, from the fear that there isn't enough, from the belief that someone else's abundance somehow diminishes what's available to you. Write, "Abundance flows through me," in the comments if this understanding is beginning to click for you, because acknowledging this truth out loud strengthens your alignment with it. The specific words you need to speak, the precise declarations that carry this faith and open these channels of energy, work because they're rooted in this understanding of wealth as spiritual energy. The reason money seems to slip through your fingers no matter how hard you work. The reason prosperity feels like an endless uphill battle instead of a natural flow has nothing to do with the economy, or your circumstances, or even how much you're earning. The real culprit operating behind the scenes is something far more insidious, hidden mental blocks that you probably don't even realize you're carrying. These aren't conscious thoughts you're aware of having. They're deeper programming, subconscious patterns that got installed in your mind years ago, maybe decades ago, and they've been running silently in the background ever since, sabotaging your prosperity without you even knowing it. Florence Scovel Shinn identified the primary barriers that block the flow of abundance, and understanding these is crucial for your transformation. Fear is the big one. Fear that there isn't enough. Fear that you'll lose what you have. Fear that you're not capable of handling wealth. Fear of what others might think if you become prosperous. This fear operates like a dam in a river, blocking the natural flow of supply. Then there's resentment, which is incredibly toxic to prosperity consciousness. When you resent others for their wealth, when you harbor bitterness about past financial disappointments, when you hold grudges about money, you're essentially telling the universe, "I reject abundance," even while consciously claiming you want it. And perhaps most pervasive is scarcity. Consciousness itself, the deeply ingrained belief that there isn't enough to go around, that you have to fight and struggle for every dollar, that prosperity is scarce and difficult. If something shifted for you during this video, hit the like button. It helps this message reach others who need it just as much as you did. These mental blocks operate with real power because consciousness creates reality. Your subconscious beliefs are constantly sending out signals, attracting experiences that match those beliefs. If deep down you believe you're unworthy of wealth, or that money is evil, or that prosperity requires struggle, guess what your life will reflect? The hidden truth is that your financial situation right now is a perfect mirror of your consciousness around money. It's not punishment and it's not random. It's simply the law of attraction working with absolute precision, giving you experiences that match your dominant beliefs and feelings. But here's where the real revelation comes in. And this is what makes the method we're discussing so powerful. This isn't about years of therapy to uncover every limiting belief. This isn't about endless analysis of your childhood money trauma. The declarations and affirmations rooted in spiritual truth have the power to smash through these barriers in a way that's almost shocking in its speed and effectiveness. When you speak words of prosperity from a place of authority, claiming your divine birthright to abundance, you're not just covering over the old programming, you're actually dissolving it, breaking it apart at its foundation. Florence Scovel Shinn taught something revolutionary that most people still don't understand. Your birthright, what you're entitled to simply by existing as a divine being, is abundance, not struggle, not lack, not barely getting by, but full, overflowing prosperity in every area of life. The only thing standing between you and that birthright is the false beliefs you've been carrying, the lies you've been told about money and worthiness and scarcity. These beliefs have no real power Accept what you give them through your acceptance and repetition. The moment you decide to reject them completely and claim your truth, their hold over you begins to crumble. The impact of breaking through these barriers is immediate and profound. People describe it as suddenly being able to breathe after years of suffocation, as if invisible chains they didn't know they were wearing suddenly fall away. Opportunities start appearing where before you saw only obstacles. Money starts flowing in unexpected ways. The struggle eases and prosperity becomes more natural. Type "I release all blocks" in the comments if you're ready to let these barriers dissolve, because that declaration itself begins the process of dismantling them. The specific words you're about to hear work precisely because they target these blocks directly, using spiritual authority to command their removal and open the channels for abundance to pour into your life. The power of manifestation isn't just mental or spiritual. It requires physical action in the material world to anchor your intention into reality. This is something Florence Scovel Shinn understood deeply and emphasized throughout her teachings. When you speak words aloud rather than just thinking them, when you write declarations rather than just imagining them, when you take tangible action that represents your commitment to a new path, you're sending a powerful signal through multiple dimensions of existence. You're not just thinking about change, you're embodying it, making it real through physical engagement. This is why something as simple as hitting the like button on this video carries significance beyond just supporting the content. That physical action, that moment when you press that button, becomes a symbolic gesture of acceptance. You're saying to the universe, to your own subconscious mind, and to the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all things, yes, I am choosing to accept the flow of blessings. I am claiming a new path. I am ready for transformation. It's a decision made manifest through action, and decisions backed by action have creative power that mere thoughts lack. The impact of this seemingly small gesture ripples through consciousness in ways you might not immediately perceive, but trust that it matters. Now, taking this even deeper, there's another level of anchoring your intention that moves beyond passive acceptance into active declaration. When you type words into the comments section, when you physically write out, "I accept my riches by my divine right," something profound happens in your consciousness. You're not just reading someone else's words or passively listening to concepts. You're actively claiming them as your own truth. You're participating in your manifestation rather than being a spectator hoping something happens to you. The phrase "by divine right" is particularly potent because it's the same language Florence Scovel Shinn used in her most powerful affirmations. It asserts that your prosperity isn't something you have to earn through suffering or prove yourself worthy of. It's your birthright simply because you exist as a divine being. The hidden truth behind why written and spoken declarations work so effectively has to do with how consciousness operates. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what you're imagining and what you're experiencing. When you write out a declaration of prosperity, your nervous system registers that as real. You're creating neural pathways that support abundance consciousness. You're literally rewiring your brain to accept and expect prosperity. Behind the scenes of every successful manifestation is this principle of embodied action, taking what exists in the realm of thought and giving it form in the physical world through words, gestures, and deliberate actions. The journey from wanting abundance to having abundance requires these bridges between the invisible and the visible. You can't just think your way into prosperity while your actions and words contradict those thoughts. Everything must align. Your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions must all point in the same direction. When they do, when you achieve that kind of total alignment, manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The revelations that come from actually doing this, from physically typing out declarations and speaking words of prosperity aloud rather than just consuming information passively, are what separate those who transform their financial reality from those who remain stuck in the same patterns. Put "my divine right is abundance" in the comments right now if you're ready to move from passive consumption into active participation, because that act of declaration is part of the method itself. The specific prayer that channels all this understanding into focused intention works because it combines all these elements: belief, energy awareness, physical action, and spiritual authority. The moment you speak or write those words of declaration, something begins to shift in the invisible realm before anything changes in the physical. This is the part most people miss because they're so focused on external results that they don't notice the subtle energetic movements happening immediately. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the spoken word goes forth and does not return void, meaning every word you speak with intention and authority sets forces in motion that must produce results. Not might produce results, not could produce results if you're lucky, but must produce results because that's how spiritual law operates. The word is creative. It doesn't just describe reality, it shapes reality. Think about what's happening in your consciousness right now as you engage with these concepts. Can you feel something loosening inside you? There's often a sensation that accompanies this shift, a feeling of resistance beginning to melt away. It might feel like a tightness in your chest releasing, or a heaviness you didn't know you were carrying suddenly lightening. This isn't imagination or wishful thinking. It's the actual energetic effect of changing your consciousness. When you declare your divine right to prosperity, when you claim abundance with authority, the dense energy of fear and scarcity that's been constricting your life begins to dissolve. It has to, because you're no longer feeding it with belief and attention. The hidden truth about manifestation that Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized more than perhaps any other teacher of her time is that feeling matters more than thinking. You can think about prosperity all day long. You can understand the concepts intellectually, but if you're not feeling the reality of abundance in your body and emotions, you're not truly aligned with it. This is why she taught about feeling the feeling of answered prayer. Before the money shows up in your bank account, before the opportunity manifests in the physical world, you must feel what it feels like to already have it. Not hoping you'll have it someday, not imagining what it might feel like if you're lucky enough to receive it, but actually experiencing the emotional reality of it right now. This isn't about faking emotions you don't feel. It's about recognizing that in the realm of consciousness, in the invisible world where all physical manifestation originates, your abundance already exists. It's already done. Your job isn't to create it from nothing. It's to align yourself with what already is, to tune your frequency to match the frequency of the abundance that's waiting for you. When you do this, when you genuinely feel grateful for the prosperity that's on its way, when you feel the relief and joy and freedom of financial abundance as if it's already yours, you collapse the distance between the invisible and the visible. You accelerate manifestation in ways that seem miraculous to those who don't understand these principles. The impact of this shift in feeling can be immediate and profound. People often report that the moment they truly felt their abundance, rather than just thinking about it, their circumstances began changing almost overnight. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough is this moment of alignment, this shift from wanting to having in consciousness first. The journey from scarcity to prosperity isn't actually about changing your external circumstances through struggle and effort. It's about changing your internal state so completely that your external circumstances have no choice but to rearrange themselves to match. This is the transformation that's available to you right now, in this moment. Not someday when you've worked hard enough or proven yourself worthy enough, but now, as you allow yourself to feel what it feels like to be prosperous, abundant, financially free. Leave "I feel it now" in the comments if you're experiencing this shift. If you can sense something changing in your energy as we speak, because acknowledging what you're feeling strengthens and amplifies it. The actual words of the prayer carry this principle to its fullest expression, guiding you into complete alignment with abundance through both declaration and feeling. Before we move into the actual prayer itself, there's something crucial you need to understand about how to receive it. This isn't something you rush through or multitask while doing. The way you approach this moment determines how deeply the words penetrate your consciousness and how powerfully they work to transform your reality. Take a deep breath right now. Seriously, stop whatever else you're doing and just breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Release the tension you're holding in your body. And if you can, close your eyes for just a moment. This simple act of pausing, of creating sacred space within yourself, opens channels that are usually closed during the busy rush of daily life. Florence Scovel Shinn taught something that most people overlook when they pray or make affirmations. You need to treat prayer as something already accomplished, not as a request for something you don't have. The mindset is completely different. When you pray from a place of lack, begging the universe to give you what you don't have, you're actually reinforcing the consciousness of not having it. But when you pray from a place of already having received, when you seal your intention with gratitude for what is already yours in the invisible realm, you're aligning with the truth of abundance rather than the illusion of scarcity. This shift in how you approach prayer changes everything about its effectiveness. The energy you're about to lock into your life through these words isn't temporary or conditional. Once you speak these declarations with genuine faith and feeling, once you seal them with gratitude and certainty, they go to work in ways you can't fully see or control. Behind the scenes of your visible life, forces begin rearranging circumstances, opening doors, removing obstacles, and drawing opportunities toward you. The impact of this goes far beyond positive thinking. You're literally reprogramming the subconscious patterns that have been running your financial life, and you're sending new instructions to the universe about what you're now available to receive. Now, here's where language becomes critically important, and this is something Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized repeatedly in her teachings. The words you use shape your reality, and the tense you speak in matters more than most people realize. When you say, "I will have prosperity," you're pushing abundance into the future, always keeping it just out of reach. You can say that same statement every day for years and never manifest anything because you're continuously affirming that prosperity is something future, something not here yet. But when you shift to present tense, when you declare, "Money is moving toward me right now," or "I have prosperity," you're claiming it as current reality. You're speaking as if it's already done, already yours, already manifesting. This present tense declaration isn't lying to yourself or pretending something exists that doesn't. It's recognizing that in consciousness, which is the realm where all physical manifestation originates, your abundance already exists. From this exact moment, as you align with these words, money is beginning to move towards you. Not tomorrow, not next week, not after you've proven yourself worthy. Right now. The decisions you make about how to receive this truth determine how quickly and powerfully it manifests in your physical reality. The journey from invisible abundance to visible prosperity happens through this bridge of present tense declaration spoken with absolute conviction. Type, "It is already mine," in the comments if you're grasping this crucial distinction, because speaking it in present tense, even in written form, strengthens your alignment with this consciousness. The prayer we're about to speak together operates entirely from this present tense reality, declaring what is already true in spirit so it can become manifest in form. The prayer itself begins with a recognition that's essential to everything that follows. You're not approaching this from a place of smallness or unworthiness, begging a distant deity for scraps. You're acknowledging the infinite source of everything good, the divine intelligence that created galaxies and orchestrates the perfect unfolding of life itself. This isn't about religion or specific beliefs. It's about connecting with the fundamental creative power that sustains all existence. When Florence Scovel Shinn began her prayers and affirmations, she always started by acknowledging this divine source, because doing so immediately shifts your consciousness from limitation to infinity. You're reminding yourself that you're not trying to squeeze prosperity out of a reluctant universe. You're tapping into a source that is, by its very nature, abundant, generous, and unlimited. Coming to this prayer with an open heart is crucial because a closed heart, one that's protected by walls of fear and doubt and past disappointment, can't receive what the universe is trying to give you. Think about it physically. If someone tries to hand you a gift, but your hands are clenched in fists, you can't receive it no matter how much they want to give it to you. An open heart is like open hands, ready to receive. It's a posture of receptivity rather than resistance, of trust rather than suspicion. The impact of approaching abundance from this place of openness rather than defensive protection changes the entire energetic dynamic. You're no longer fighting for scraps or protecting yourself from scarcity. You're simply opening yourself to receive what's already being offered. Now comes perhaps the most crucial declaration in this entire prayer, and it's the point where many people stumble without even realizing it. You must state clearly, without hesitation or qualification, that you know you are worthy of all the blessings the universe has to offer. Not some of them, not whatever small portion you think you deserve based on your past mistakes or current circumstances, but all of them. Florence Scovel Shinn identified feelings of unworthiness as the single greatest block to receiving abundance. You can speak all the right words, you can follow every technique perfectly, but if deep down you don't believe you deserve prosperity, if some part of you thinks you're not good enough or haven't earned it or don't measure up, that belief will sabotage every effort you make. This isn't about arrogance or thinking you're better than others. It's about recognizing a fundamental spiritual truth. Your worthiness isn't based on what you've done or haven't done, on your successes or failures, on other people's opinions, or your own self-judgment. Your worthiness is inherent, built into the fabric of your being simply because you exist as a divine creation. The hidden truth that transforms everything is understanding that you don't have to earn your birthright to abundance any more than a flower has to earn the right to bloom, or a bird has to earn the right to fly. It's your nature, your divine inheritance, and claiming it isn't selfish, it's honest. The journey from feeling unworthy to knowing your worthiness is one of the most profound transformations you can experience. It's not about convincing yourself or building up your ego. It's about stripping away the false beliefs that were never true in the first place. Behind the scenes of every financial struggle is usually this core issue of worthiness. And once it's resolved, once you truly know at the deepest level that you deserve abundant blessings, everything else starts falling into place with surprising ease. Put "I am worthy of all blessings" in the comments if you're ready to claim this truth, because speaking it out loud is part of how you reprogram that deep belief. The prayer continues by declaring the specific form this worthiness takes when it comes to prosperity, establishing your divine right to financial abundance. From that foundation of worthiness, the prayer moves into a declaration that fundamentally challenges everything most of us were taught about money and prosperity. You're stating, with absolute authority, that prosperity is your right, not a privilege reserved for the lucky few, not a luxury you might enjoy if circumstances work out perfectly, not something you have to suffer and struggle to earn, but your right. This was Florence Scovel Shinn's revolutionary contribution to prosperity teaching. She completely reframed abundance from something you have to deserve through sacrifice and hardship, to something that's yours by divine birthright. The cultural programming most of us absorbed says you have to work yourself to exhaustion, prove your worth through suffering, earn every penny through struggle and sacrifice. But that's human thinking, imposed on divine law, and it has nothing to do with how prosperity actually operates. When you declare prosperity as your right, you're rejecting an entire paradigm of scarcity thinking that has dominated human consciousness for millennia. You're saying, "I don't have to earn my birthright. I don't have to prove myself worthy of divine supply. I claim what is already mine by nature of being a divine creation." This shift in perspective changes everything about how you relate to money. You stop hustling from a place of desperation and start receiving from a place of natural entitlement. Not entitlement in the negative sense, but in the sense that a child is entitled to their parents' care, that lungs are entitled to air, that roots are entitled to soil. It's your natural state, and claiming it is simply acknowledging truth. The imagery that follows in the prayer is incredibly powerful and revealing about how abundance actually works. Money flowing to you like a river that never runs dry. This metaphor captures something essential about the nature of prosperity. A river doesn't struggle to flow. It doesn't run out of water because someone downstream is drinking from it. It just keeps moving, constantly replenished from its source, endlessly flowing. Florence Scovel Shinn loved water metaphors for abundance because they perfectly illustrate the continuous, effortless nature of divine supply. When you understand that prosperity operates like a river rather than like a limited bucket, your entire relationship with money transforms. Think about the decisions you make from scarcity consciousness versus abundance consciousness. From scarcity, you hoard, you grasp, you panic when money flows out, you compete with others for limited resources. But from river consciousness, you trust the flow. You know that what flows out will be replenished because the source is infinite. You can be generous because you're not drawing from a limited bucket. You're channeling an endless stream. The impact of this shift on your actual financial behavior is profound. You start making decisions from abundance rather than fear, and those decisions create completely different results. Behind the scenes of every person who seems to effortlessly attract wealth, you'll find this river consciousness. They're not constantly worried about running out because they understand they're connected to an infinite source. They're not trying to dam up the river and hold on to every drop. They're allowing it to flow through them, trusting that more is always coming. This is the hidden truth about wealth that separates those who build lasting prosperity from those who struggle constantly, despite working just as hard. It's not about effort. It's about understanding the nature of supply and aligning yourself with its natural flow. The revelations that emerge when you truly grasp this are life-changing. You realize that prosperity isn't about accumulating and protecting a finite amount of money. It's about positioning yourself in the flow of an infinite stream and allowing it to move through your life freely. Write, "I trust the flow" in the comments if this understanding is shifting something in your consciousness. Because acknowledging this principle strengthens your connection to the river of abundance. The prayer continues by declaring exactly how this river of prosperity is manifesting in your life right now, in this present moment. The prayer now declares something that might sound too good to be true to the skeptical mind, but it's actually describing how spiritual law naturally operates when you align with it correctly. You're stating that wealth is showing up miraculously starting now, not eventually, not if you're lucky, not after you've done everything perfectly, now. And here's what most people misunderstand about miracles. We've been conditioned to think of miracles as rare, exceptional events that violate natural law, special interventions reserved for saints and the spiritually advanced. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught something radically different, that miracles are completely natural when you're aligned with divine law. She called them unexpected good, and she emphasized that they should be the norm, not the exception. Think about what a miracle actually is from this perspective. It's not God breaking the rules of the universe to give you special treatment. It's you finally getting into alignment with how the universe is designed to operate, and then experiencing the natural result of that alignment. When you're out of alignment with abundance consciousness, when you're operating from fear and scarcity, struggle becomes your normal experience. But when you shift into alignment with divine law, when your consciousness matches the frequency of abundance, what appears miraculous from the old perspective is actually just natural consequence from the new one. The transformation that happens isn't that the universe changes its mind about you. It's that you've changed your position relative to the flow of blessings that was always there. This is why the prayer emphasizes that money comes at the perfect time, sometimes in ways you expect and sometimes in ways that completely surprise you. Divine timing is one of Florence Scovel Shinn's most important teachings, and it's where a lot of people lose faith in the process. We want everything now, on our schedule, in the specific form we've decided it should take. But infinite intelligence sees the whole picture in ways our limited human perspective can't. Behind the scenes, there are circumstances aligning, doors opening, people being moved into position, all orchestrated with perfect precision to deliver your good at exactly the right moment. The key insight here is learning to receive without stress or worry, trusting that the timing is perfect even when it doesn't match your preferred schedule. This doesn't mean passive waiting or giving up on desire. It means active faith combined with surrender of control over the how and when. You declare what you want. You align your consciousness with having it. You take inspired action when opportunities appear, and then you trust the universe to handle the logistics. The impact of releasing the need to control every detail and micromanage the manifestation process is enormous. It's like the difference between trying to force a door open versus allowing it to swing open naturally when you have the right key. When money shows up in expected ways, through raises or anticipated payments or opportunities you've been working toward, you can recognize divine law at work. But when it arrives completely out of the blue, through channels you never imagined, in forms you didn't know existed, that's when you really start to understand the unlimited nature of supply. The journey from needing to control exactly how your good arrives to trusting divine timing to deliver it perfectly is one of the most liberating shifts you can make. It removes the burden of having to figure everything out and allows you to simply be available to receive in whatever form it comes. Type "Divine timing is perfect" in the comments if you're willing to release control and trust this process, because that surrender is actually what opens the floodgates. The prayer moves next into declaring yourself as a magnetic force for wealth, establishing that prosperity doesn't just passively come to you, but actively seeks you out. This next declaration in the prayer shifts your entire relationship with prosperity from pursuing to being pursued. You're claiming yourself as a magnet for wealth, stating that prosperity actively chases you down, finds you, and surrounds you. This isn't passive hoping. This is declaring that your very consciousness has become magnetic to abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that consciousness operates through magnetic attraction, that like attracts like at the level of energy and vibration. When you embody prosperity consciousness, when you think, feel, and speak from a place of abundance, you become a magnet that draws wealth toward you effortlessly. You're not running after money. Money is running toward you because it's drawn to the frequency you're broadcasting. The hidden truth here is that you're always magnetic to something. The question is what? If you're broadcasting fear and scarcity, you magnetize experiences that match those frequencies. If you're broadcasting doubt and unworthiness, you attract circumstances that confirm those beliefs. But when you make the conscious decision to shift your frequency, when you declare yourself a magnet for wealth with absolute conviction, the universe has no choice but to respond by sending you experiences that match your new vibration. This is law, not wishful thinking. The impact of understanding yourself as magnetic rather than as someone who has to chase and struggle for every opportunity completely transforms your experience of life. Suddenly you're not exhausted from pursuing. You're alert and receptive to what's pursuing you. Now, for this magnetic attraction to work at full power, there's something crucial that must happen first. You have to release the old beliefs that have been acting like interference in your magnetic field. Think of it like trying to tune a radio. If there's static and interference, you can't clearly receive the signal that's being broadcast. Your old beliefs about money, about your worthiness, about scarcity and struggle, they're creating static that blocks the clear transmission of abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn identified these limiting beliefs as thought forms, actual energetic structures in consciousness that have accumulated power through years of repetition and belief. They're not just harmless thoughts you can ignore. They're active forces shaping your reality, and they must be consciously dissolved through new declarations. The journey from unconsciously carrying these limiting beliefs to actively releasing them is where real transformation begins. Most people don't even realize they're holding on to beliefs that sabotage their prosperity. They consciously want wealth while unconsciously believing they don't deserve it, that rich people are greedy, that money corrupts, that there isn't enough to go around. that prosperity requires suffering. These contradictory beliefs create an energetic tug of war that keeps you stuck in the same place no matter how hard you try to move forward. Behind the scenes of every financial struggle is usually a cluster of these old thought forms operating like invisible chains. But here's the revelation that changes everything. These beliefs only have power because you gave them power through repetition and acceptance. They're not truth, they're just patterns you learned, probably from family, culture, past experiences, and constant reinforcement. And what was learned can be unlearned. What was given power can have that power revoked. The decisions you make right now about which beliefs to hold and which to release literally determine your financial future. When you declare in this prayer that you're letting go of any old belief that held you back from your deserved riches, you're not just saying nice words. You're actively dissolving the energetic structures that have been blocking your prosperity. Leave "I release all limiting beliefs" in the comments if you're ready to let these old patterns dissolve completely, because speaking that intention aloud accelerates the process. The prayer continues by specifically naming and rejecting the most common patterns of scarcity that keep people trapped in financial struggle. The prayer now. Get specific about what's being broken and released, and this is where you need to bring real intention and feeling. You're declaring that you're breaking every pattern of scarcity, and every fear that whispers there isn't enough. These patterns aren't just thoughts. They're deeply ingrained neural pathways that fire automatically whenever money comes up. They're the voice that says, better save every penny because you never know. The anxiety that grips you when an unexpected expense appears. The comparison that makes you feel less than when you see others' abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn understood something profound that modern psychology is only now confirming. Scarcity is an illusion created by limited human thinking, not a reflection of divine reality. The universe is not running out of resources. There is no cosmic shortage. The only place scarcity exists is in consciousness, and it's been passed down through generations like a virus of the mind. Breaking these patterns requires more than just deciding they're wrong. It requires actively replacing them with truth, speaking new declarations with such conviction and repetition that they carve new neural pathways, creating new automatic responses. The impact of consciously breaking these patterns is that you start noticing abundance everywhere instead of scarcity. You see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. You feel excited about possibilities instead of anxious about limitations. The transformation happens not just in your bank account, but in your entire perception of reality. What comes next in the prayer is perhaps the most liberating declaration for anyone who's been grinding themselves into exhaustion trying to make money. You're stating clearly and unequivocally that you are done thinking earning money has to be a struggle. Florence Scovel Shinn had a phrase that captures this perfectly. There is no strain in the kingdom. The divine plan, the natural order of abundance, doesn't involve struggle and suffering and exhausting yourself. That's human distortion, cultural programming that equates suffering with virtue and ease with laziness. But ease is actually the natural state of alignment with divine flow. Think about how nature operates. Does an apple tree strain and struggle to produce apples? Does a flower exhaust itself trying to bloom? No, they simply align with their nature and the result flows naturally. You've been taught that if money comes easily, it doesn't count, that real prosperity requires grinding and sacrifice and proving yourself through suffering. But that belief is precisely what keeps prosperity at arm's length, because struggle itself is a vibration of resistance, not alignment. The hidden truth is that when you're truly in the flow of divine supply, when you're aligned with your purpose and operating from abundance consciousness, money flows more easily, not harder. Opportunities appear without you having to force them. Solutions arrive without exhausting effort. The journey from struggle consciousness to flow consciousness is one of the most profound shifts you can make, and it requires releasing the guilt that often comes with receiving easily. Behind the scenes of your resistance to ease is probably a belief that you don't deserve good things unless you've suffered for them, that prosperity you haven't fought for isn't really yours. These beliefs are so deeply embedded in human culture that rejecting them feels almost rebellious. But it's not rebellion, it's alignment with truth. The revelations that emerge when you finally allow yourself to receive prosperity without struggle, when you give yourself permission to have wealth flow easily, are genuinely life-changing. Type, "I choose ease over struggle" in the comments if you're ready to release this old programming completely, because declaring that choice is part of how you reprogram your consciousness. The prayer continues by specifically addressing the emotional blocks that keep people trapped in scarcity even when they intellectually want abundance. The prayer now addresses the emotional blocks that are often even more powerful than intellectual beliefs in keeping people trapped. You're declaring that you're letting go of guilt, anxiety, and the exhausting need to control every detail of how your prosperity arrives. These three things, guilt, anxiety, and control, form a trinity of resistance that blocks the flow of abundance more effectively than almost anything else. Guilt tells you that you don't deserve prosperity, that wanting wealth is somehow wrong or selfish. Anxiety keeps you in a constant state of fear about the future, which broadcasts scarcity consciousness into the universe. And the need to control every detail reveals that you don't really trust the process, that you believe it's all up to you to make it happen through sheer force of will. Florence Scovel Shinn taught something that completely dissolves this need for control. Infinite intelligence knows the way. You don't have to figure out every step, orchestrate every detail, or micromanage the universe's delivery system. In fact, trying to control everything actually interferes with the natural unfolding of your good, because you're limiting infinite possibilities to only the narrow pathways your human mind can conceive. The hidden truth is that the universe is far more creative, generous, and resourceful than you could ever be. When you surrender control and allow yourself to be surprised by the universe's generosity, you open yourself to receive in ways you never imagined, through channels you never would have thought to pursue. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on desire. It means holding your intention clearly while remaining flexible about the form and timing of its fulfillment. The impact of this shift from controlling to allowing is immediate. You feel lighter, freer, less burdened by the weight of making. Everything happen yourself. Behind the scenes, when you release control, you actually accelerate manifestation because you're no longer blocking the universe's perfect orchestration with your limited ideas about how things should unfold. The journey from needing to control every aspect to trusting infinite intelligence is one of the most liberating transformations you can experience. What's profound about the next part of the prayer is that it expands your vision beyond just financial prosperity. You're asking for riches in every form, not just money in your bank account. Florence Scovel Shinn taught a holistic view of prosperity that modern prosperity teachers often miss. True abundance includes health, happiness, loving relationships, perfect self-expression, creative fulfillment, peace of mind, and yes, financial wealth. But if you gain money while sacrificing your health, relationships, or joy, you haven't achieved real prosperity. You've just traded one form of poverty for another. This understanding transforms how you pursue wealth because it reminds you that money is a means to a fuller life, not the end goal itself. When you ask for riches in every form, you're aligning with complete abundance rather than narrow financial gain. You're opening yourself to receive a life of genuine prosperity where all aspects flourish together. The revelations that come from this expanded view of wealth help you make better decisions about what opportunities to pursue and which to decline. An opportunity that would bring money but destroy your health or relationships isn't true prosperity. It's a trap disguised as abundance. The transformation that happens when you embrace this holistic prosperity consciousness is that you start evaluating everything through a wider lens. You're not just asking, will this make me money? But will this enrich my entire life? And paradoxically, when you pursue this fuller vision of prosperity, the money often flows more easily because you're aligned with the true spirit of abundance rather than grasping at one narrow aspect of it. Write, "I welcome prosperity in all forms," in the comments if this expanded vision resonates with you. Because claiming abundance in every area of life, rather than just finances, opens you to receive blessings you might have been unknowingly blocking. The prayer moves next into specifically requesting divine assistance in clearing your path and revealing the opportunities that are already waiting for you. The prayer now makes a specific request that acknowledges something crucial about manifestation. Sometimes your good is already there, waiting for you, but blocked by obstacles you can't see or navigate alone. You're asking for doors to success to be opened and for the pathway ahead to be cleared. This isn't about creating something from nothing. It's about removing the barriers between you and the abundance that already exists. Florence Scovel Shinn had a powerful affirmation that captures this perfectly. "My good now flows to me in a steady, unbroken, ever-increasing stream of success." Notice the imagery. It's not sporadic luck or occasional windfalls, but a steady, unbroken stream that keeps increasing. That's the natural pattern of divine supply when the pathways are clear. Behind the scenes of your visible reality, there are doors waiting to open for you. Opportunities that exist right now, but that you can't perceive yet because your consciousness isn't tuned to see them, or because certain conditions haven't aligned to make them accessible. When you pray for doors to open, you're asking divine intelligence to orchestrate circumstances, to move people and situations into position, to remove obstacles and reveal pathways. The impact of this prayer isn't that you're convincing a reluctant universe to help you. It's that you're aligning yourself with the help that's already available, activating forces that have been waiting for your invitation. What makes this even more powerful is the next request in the prayer: for clarity to see opportunities and confidence to walk toward your destiny. Because here's the hidden truth that most people miss. Opportunities are often invisible to you, not because they don't exist, but because your consciousness isn't prepared to recognize them. You can walk right past your breakthrough moment because you're looking for something different, or because fear has clouded your vision, or because you don't trust yourself to recognize divine guidance when it appears. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that intuition is divine guidance leading you to your good, but you have to develop the clarity to perceive it and the confidence to act on it. Think about how many times you've had a hunch, a gut feeling, an intuitive nudge towards something, and you talked yourself out of it because it didn't make logical sense or because fear convinced you to play it safe. That intuition was divine intelligence, trying to guide you toward your good, but without clarity and confidence, you dismissed it. The transformation that happens when you develop these two qualities, clarity of perception and confidence in divine guidance, is that you start recognizing and acting on opportunities that would have been invisible or intimidating before. You begin to trust that inner knowing that's always been there, waiting to guide you. The journey from confusion and self-doubt to clarity and confidence isn't about acquiring something you don't have. It's about clearing away the mental noise and fear that obscures the guidance that's always available. Behind every major success story, every significant breakthrough, you'll find moments where someone trusted their intuition despite external circumstances suggesting otherwise, where they had the clarity to see an opportunity others missed and the confidence to pursue it. These aren't special people with abilities you lack. They're simply people who learned to trust divine guidance and act on it. The revelations that emerge when you start operating from this place of clarity and confidence are profound. You realize that you've never been alone or without guidance. The universe has been trying to lead you to your good all along, but you couldn't always perceive or trust the signals. Now, through this prayer, you're specifically requesting enhanced perception and courage, asking to see clearly and move confidently toward everything that's meant for you. Type "I trust divine guidance" in the comments if you're ready to develop this clarity and confidence, because declaring that trust out loud strengthens your connection to your intuition. The prayer continues by acknowledging and activating the divine power within you that connects directly to infinite wealth. This next declaration in the prayer might be the most revolutionary concept in the entire teaching, and it's something Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized throughout her work. You're not asking some external force to give you power. You're activating the divine power that already exists within you, the power that connects you directly to limitless wealth. This completely flips the script on how most people approach prosperity. They're constantly looking outside themselves for the source of abundance, waiting for someone to give them permission or opportunity, believing that wealth comes from external circumstances. But Shinn taught something that transforms everything. The kingdom of heaven, meaning the realm of infinite abundance, is within you, not somewhere out there. This isn't metaphorical or poetic language. It's pointing to a literal truth about the nature of consciousness and creation. The power to manifest prosperity doesn't exist in the economy, in your job, in other people's decisions about you, or in any external circumstance. It exists in your consciousness, in the divine spark within you that's connected to infinite intelligence. When you recognize and activate this inner power, you stop being dependent on external conditions and start creating from within. The impact of this shift is absolutely profound, because suddenly you realize you're not a victim waiting for circumstances to change. You're a creator with direct access to the source of all supply. The hidden truth that most people never grasp is that you've always had this power. It's been sitting dormant within you, waiting for recognition and activation. The decisions you make about whether to claim this power or continue believing you're powerless literally determine whether you live in abundance or scarcity. Behind the scenes of every transformation from poverty to prosperity, you'll find this moment of recognition, when someone finally understands that the power they've been seeking outside themselves has been within them all along. Now, as you activate this divine power, something begins to happen at the energetic level that you can actually feel if you pay attention. The prayer directs you to experience the energy of money surrounding you, to feel your vibration rising, to sense your alignment with abundance becoming stronger and clearer. Florence Scovel Shinn understood what quantum physics is now confirming. Everything is vibration, including money. Prosperity isn't just physical currency, it's an energetic frequency, and when you match that frequency with your own vibration, attraction becomes automatic and inevitable. Can you feel it right? Now, as you engage with these words, there's often a subtle shift in your energy body, a lightness, an opening, a sense of expansion. That's not imagination. That's your vibration actually rising to match the frequency of abundance. The journey from low vibration scarcity consciousness to high vibration prosperity consciousness is something you can literally feel in your body when you pay attention. Some people describe it as warmth, others as tingling or expansion, others simply as feeling lighter and more hopeful. Whatever form it takes for you, that feeling is evidence that transformation is happening right now, not in some distant future. The revelations that come from understanding money as energy rather than just physical objects are game-changing. You realize that attracting wealth isn't about working harder in the physical world. It's about raising your vibration and consciousness to match the frequency of what you want to attract. When your vibration matches prosperity, opportunities, ideas, people, and resources that vibrate at that same frequency are naturally drawn into your experience. It's not magic, it's physics operating at the level of consciousness. Put "I feel the shift" in the comments if you're experiencing this energetic change right now, because acknowledging what you feel strengthens and amplifies the transformation. The prayer moves next into declaring with absolute certainty that you are completely open to receiving money without any limits or restrictions. The prayer now makes perhaps the boldest declaration of all, that you recognize money as energy and that you are wide open to receiving it without any limits whatsoever. This is where most people unconsciously sabotage themselves. They might say they want prosperity, but deep down they have a ceiling on how much they believe they can receive. They think, I could handle a little more money, but balk at the idea of truly unlimited abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught something that shatters these self-imposed limitations. God is lavish, extravagant abundance. Not modest, not reasonable, not appropriate, lavish and extravagant. The divine nature is to give abundantly, without measure, without restriction. When you declare openness to receiving without limits, you're removing the invisible ceiling that's been capping your prosperity. Think about the decisions you've made based on limited thinking, the opportunities you didn't pursue because they seemed too big, dreams you didn't chase because they felt unrealistic, the abundance you talked yourself out of because some part of you believed you couldn't handle it or didn't deserve it. Behind the scenes of these self-limiting decisions is usually a belief that there's a reasonable amount of money you should have, and anything beyond that is somehow inappropriate or dangerous. But that belief is creating your financial ceiling. The transformation that happens when you genuinely remove all limits is both exhilarating and sometimes uncomfortable because unlimited abundance challenges every scarcity-based belief you've ever held. You have to expand your identity to match unlimited prosperity. You have to let go of the small, limited version of yourself that felt safe because it didn't ask for too much. The impact of this expansion ripples through every area of your life because when you're willing to receive unlimited financial abundance, you're also opening yourself to unlimited love, unlimited opportunities, unlimited expression of your gifts. What makes this declaration even more powerful is what comes next. You're stating with absolute certainty that within days, not months or years, but days, you will see clear signs that wealth is appearing in your life. Florence Scovel Shinn taught her students to watch for signs and wonders because the universe always responds to your word. Not sometimes, not if you're lucky, but always. When you speak with authority and faith, forces are set in motion that must produce evidence of what you've declared. These signs might be subtle at first: an unexpected check, a surprising opportunity, a door opening where there was only a wall before, a conversation that leads somewhere significant. The journey from declaring to seeing manifestation often includes this phase of signs appearing, and this is where faith is tested. Some people see the first small sign and dismiss it as coincidence, missing the significance of the universe confirming their word. Others recognize even small manifestations as evidence that larger ones are coming, and their faith strengthens. The hidden truth is that these signs aren't random. They're the universe saying, "I heard you, I'm responding, stay aligned, and watch what unfolds." Behind every major manifestation are these early indicators, these breadcrumbs of evidence showing you're on the right path. The revelations that come from paying attention to these signs transform how you experience life. You start seeing synchronicities everywhere. You notice opportunities appearing in perfect timing. You recognize that what seems like luck or coincidence is actually divine intelligence orchestrating your good. This awareness itself accelerates manifestation because you're actively engaging with the process rather than passively hoping something happens. Type, "I see the signs" in the comments if you're committing to watch for evidence of your abundance manifesting, because declaring your awareness opens your eyes even wider to perceive what's already beginning to appear. The prayer continues by calling on higher assistance to guide and support your journey to prosperity. If you've made it this far with me, I want you to know something. You're not here by accident. The fact that you stayed through this entire message, that you allowed these words to sink deep into your consciousness, that you engaged with this teaching, that tells me you're truly ready for the transformation that's coming. And I'm genuinely honored to be part of your journey toward prosperity. If this content resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside as we moved through this prayer together, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. I create these videos because I believe this knowledge, these principles that Florence Scovel Shinn taught and that have transformed countless lives, deserves to reach everyone who's ready to receive it. When you subscribe, you're ensuring that you don't miss the next piece of wisdom, the next tool, the next revelation that might be exactly what you need at exactly the right moment. And here's what I'd really love. Leave a comment below saying, "This message was meant for me," because it was. Your being here, your openness to these teachings, your willingness to expand your consciousness around prosperity, that's not random. When I see your comment, I'll know that this prayer found its way to someone who's ready to use it. And that means everything. If you found value in what we've explored together today, go ahead and hit that like button. It's a simple gesture, but it helps this message reach more people who need it, more souls who are ready for financial transformation and abundant living. Before you go, there's a video right here that takes this understanding even deeper, exploring exactly how to maintain this prosperity consciousness and make it a permanent state rather than a temporary feeling. Click and continue with me. Over there. Let's keep this momentum going and ensure your transformation sticks. Thank you for trusting me with your time and attention today. Your prosperity is already on its way,